Happy February 28th. It is not the last day in February because we are in a leap year. So we have a February 29th tomorrow. Quite exciting. And obviously, we have the key topic of if we're going to see an all-time high before the halving. Man, we should almost change the title. Are we going to see an all-time high this week? The way the market is pumping. We don't have much left for a new Bitcoin all-time high. Insane. I hope you are joining us on YouTube. I hope audio and video and so on is well. Let me know if the audio quality is different between Fabio and myself, noise-wise or level-wise. Last time I think there was a difference. Maybe I can fix that, and hope everything on the Twitter space is working. Yeah, Fabio, how you doing? How's everything? Tell me, what's the news?
Yeah, well, craziness. There are. I think there is a statistic that somebody made over the last 10 years that all the happenings and gains are made in like 14 days out of a year. So it's like decompressed into single digits percentages of days that actually bring all the drama, bring all the noise, bring all the volatility, and I would say we probably are in one of these periods right now. And like the last 6 months, of course, we had the steady run up, and the like from May till January, ETF. Does it come? Will it come? What does it do? Now it's finally here, and I guess we all underestimated the short term. Like I of course, a lot of people talked about what the ETF could bring over the course of the year, but yeah, since we are 2 months in, not even 2 months, on March the 10th or 11th, so in 2 weeks, we are 2 months in, and it's complete madness. It's basically just up only. We don't even have dips anymore. And yeah, of course, we have our own little drama within, let's say, company related or ecosystem DeFi chain related things. I don't know. I saw a few tweets that have been made, some cryptic ones, some less cryptic ones, a news article from Tech in Asia.
Keep the drama for the llama, right?
Can you share, if like, I know it's hard to share things in public right now because it's an ongoing case, but is there something you can share?
Okay, look, first, I think everyone just read the tweet. I think every line matters. Use ChatGPT or something if you're not familiar with some of the sentences or some of the statements in there. I think, I think you should have an easy time really understanding it. I'm not someone, I said this several times, I don't wash dirty laundry in public. I don't talk to the media about things that I know should stay inside. I've never done that. I don't do that. And I'm not commenting on an open case. Over the last couple of months, I've done nothing else other than hustle and work super hard for this company, for the community, for our customers, for the team. Everyone that has been with me during this knows this. They all know that I have only the best intentions and interests in mind. And I will leave it at that. I really leave it at that. Everything else, I think people will interpret it the way they want it to happen. They will speculate. And I always think at the end, the truth will get revealed and stuff will come out. So I think I trust in the Singapore legal process, and I think let's leave it at that. Look, I am. Let me just look on my tweet if there's anything else I wanna, because I have to be really. I really don't want to comment on anything that I'm not allowed to. I don't want to do that. Yeah, I think just read the tweet and don't get distracted by the empty bullets. They're loud. They scare you a little bit, but at the end they're nothing else. So let's focus on the productive stuff. Look, I'm here. I'm doing that live. I'm in the calls. I'm working. Actions should speak louder than words. So let's focus on the productive stuff.
So from one hard question to the next, all-time high before the halving.
Man, if you had asked me if you had asked me a week ago, I would have said no way in hell. I think we're getting close to 60,000 right now. I think we are. I think 59 was crossed, and I think we're getting close to 60,000. So we're talking about what, 15% from here. Um, Man, like this is not much. I mean, this is a one or two good Bitcoin days. So I still don't think we're gonna see an all-time high before the halving. But man, is it hard to be not like overly exuberant and excited right now. My key question for you, right, in this is, how do you see this? Do you see the all-time high before the halving? And then I want to hear, who is buying in your opinion right now? Where is this coming from? Because if we understand that, we can kind of understand how much substance is in there, how much pump and dump is this, or how much legs is this rally going to have?
Yeah. So from it feels very weird because we've been here before. We've been in the 60K range 2.5 years ago in the fall of 2021. And back then it felt completely different. There was, like you said, there is exuberance. Yeah, okay, a little bit. If you go on Twitter, of course you see the perma bulls and the people and the memes. There's like this guy with two red buttons, stay humble, or I told you so. So it's and of course that kind of spirit is reflected especially on crypto Twitter, but also at the same time it does feel a little bit like disbelief. Like a lot of people kind of struggle to wrap their head around that rally, and they really think, is this really happening? Are we really going for it? So it's very much an undertone of disbelief. And the thing that, so normally one indicator in 2017, I made this my big indicator, but it was only one data point. And this is how many people do reach out and ask you, okay, how can I buy Bitcoin? Hey, how is this Bitcoin thing really working? Where do I need to go? What do I need to do? And in 2017, it was extreme. Like I had so many DMs and so many people reach out. And then, of course, I kind of established myself, at least within my social circle, as the weird Bitcoin guy that always brings it up at every party. And then in 2021, it was extreme. Like my DMs were overflowing, so much interest. And a lot of people were interested in, of course, how can I buy Shiba? How can I buy Dogecoin? SafeMoon was a big thing, like meme coins and so on. It was less about Bitcoin. And this time around, nothing. Of course, the occasional, like my mother texted me, oh, Bitcoin is going up. And one friend reached out and he asked, okay, where can I go and buy this thing? But the general public is not really aware of what is happening. So to go into the second part of the question is who is buying. So I have of course, the answer that everybody's aware of. The ETFs, we have like 9,000, I think yesterday, 9,000 Bitcoins were bought by ETFs, 900 were created by miners and some institutions, of course. That would be the answer that everybody kind of expects. And maybe the bit conspiracy answer is the Saudis are bidding. that would be
Really?
I really, so there was this event, I forgot the name, and it was like 10 days ago or so, where they had a digital asset summit or I don't know what event, and I haven't seen a live stream or takeaways from the event. The only thing I saw is that a few people kind of said, okay, this is becoming a thing in, let's say, Saudi Arabia and the Middle East in general, and that these people, there is more money than we in the West can imagine, and it doesn't really matter to them. Really the max bidding or they don't really care. They just pour money into something and so I would say maybe a combination out of those two, because retail isn't. It's not you and me.
Yeah.
It's not mom and pop. It's not average Joe. It's not Coinbase download search terms. They're all basically flat. So it's not new retail people. It's I don't know. I guess family offices, registered advisors. Yeah. What would be your best guess in where is this all coming from?
I hope, because I really don't know. I hope it's actually not retail, but I hope it really has to do with the ETF inflows. And it's the number one number. I shared it so many times. It's the number one number I've been monitoring and tracking. It's less the trading volume. It's really more of the inflows. And we have seen two extremely strong days with net inflows of $500 million. That is serious money. And so that to me would be good if it didn't come from a single kind of entity, but actually really quite well diversified. So, I mean, I saw this rumor about BlackRock having their private members event, and there's like a lot of high net worth individuals, and and that happened just recently. And then a lot of people there may have bought just a little bit of Bitcoin from their holdings, and so adding all this together becomes hundreds of millions of dollars. So I would hope that this is not like one kind of entity, because this is actually not as strong. What would be stronger is that if it's like couple hundred, right, of high net worth individuals who each invest a couple $1,000,000, which wouldn't be much money for them, but then as a whole becomes billions of dollars. So that would be a bit of my hope. Yeah, I have no good explanation other than that. I don't know what I'm missing.
There is a thing that is a bit worrisome to me, and so the pace that we normally, if you look at any market, people always said, like if you're in technical analysis, or if you were any kind of financial analyst, everybody always says, okay, corrections are healthy. You know, we kind of establish a new higher level and a new base where we can go even higher, and we don't really see the corrections. I think so. I'm not 100% sure if it's 4 or 5. I think we had 4 times at 20%, max 21% since 13 months. In 13 months, we only really had 4 corrections, and the biggest one was, I think, 21%. So it's basically up only mode. We never seen something like this before. Normally we have these 30% corrections, bigger drawdowns, and also when you just look at the timing, we are 1 year or at least 6 months too early. Maybe even
Agreed.
7, 8,
Agreed. We
10
discussed
months.
this here. We discussed this here, right? I mean, I still stand that I always believed all-time high second half of the year.
Yeah, and so I follow one guy. It's called
Crypto
Bob Lucas
Capo.
on.
That's
I also follow Crypto Couple. He's not. I don't think he's feeling well.
Dude, no way in
It's
hell.
no. He has been consistently wrong. At least he's consistent. But the
If you're wrong, be consistently wrong.
yeah, at least you can trade off that. But the Bob Lucas, he's talking about what he's calling. He named this thing himself. He's calling that a left translated cycle. And he's been going on about this for more than 4 years. Before we even had the last high, he was mentioning that we might see a left translated cycle. So left translated cycle would be, normally you have these 6 months after the halving, that kind of puts us at all-time high territories, and then you have another 6 months of an epic bull run. That, at least that was in the past. And he's basically saying this time is going to be slightly different, in that the cycle top is much more in the range of the halving, and we're going to go there earlier. But what that also means, of course, is that we're not going to pump as hard. We're going to be there earlier, and we probably are not going that high, because if you have a rally that goes as we're going right now, you just get exhausted a lot faster, and we don't really have so the halving doesn't play into it yet. Of course, the mental part of it, the front running or the narrative, yes, and also the liquidity is not really there yet. We haven't seen the Fed pivot, but then again, you also have macro or assets, in particular, a few assets going completely crazy. So there is, before I drop the ball to you, there is basically 2 narratives that I kind of shift in between, that I don't really know which one to pick and which one is true. And one is the hard landing, recession, the most drastic and fastest increase in Fed rates in history, and kind of the anticipation or the effect of that would be, okay, we are going into a hard landing, we're going into a recession, asset prices need to correct, inflation is coming down, and so on. We basically talked about this for 1.5 years. This is thesis one, but then the other thesis is markets are broken, everything is rigged, up only. Because it doesn't really matter what the Fed does. It doesn't really matter. Like the market sniffed out the weakness, let's say, that the Fed is weak and that they're going to pivot eventually. And they basically are calling the bluff and kind of allocating capital accordingly. And you have like 2 or 3 people that advocate for the second case. So, for example, Arthur Hayes and Raw Paul are both under the impression that we are going to see the most epic up-only bull run this next year. Arthur Hayes puts it, I think, in 2025 and 2026, but he's basically saying, go risk on, go tech, go crypto, and you will do amazing. Because the markets are rigged, they are in up-only mode, more money, so the Fed is going to pivot, more QE, and we're just going to pump. I don't know. I kind of switch in between those two, and I don't know how this is going to play out.
Look, it feels like this. It feels like all the crypto fans right now, they're like, oh, I always told you, I have no clue why price is up, but doesn't matter. Numbers are going up. Who cares why? Let's just join the rally. I'm getting rich. That's how everyone feels. Let's be honest, right? And I mean, there is some reason to that. But I don't know. I'm just a bit worried that it feels a little bit too exuberant right now. It really does. But I also see the reason why numbers are up. So to me, I would be a bit cautious in calling, like 2.5 years ago at 60,000, I was the one who said, hey, that is too much for me. It's not reasonable. I don't think we're going to see much higher prices, and I'm selling, right? So that was about 2.5 years ago. And I don't feel the same way right now, because I do see the reason on why we are where we are. Now, that doesn't mean that we're gonna pump much higher. That doesn't mean that we're gonna easily get to 100,000. That doesn't mean we see a new all-time high. But I'm not sitting here being shocked or being surprised looking at the net inflows. Like, would I have predicted this 2 weeks ago? Hell no. No way would I have thought we're hitting 60,000. But you give me the data, right? So all you do is, one thing that I was always missing is, and you know this because we debated this so much here on the channel, we debated this so much in private. The one thing that I've always been missing on Bitcoin is, give me a number that I can look at that's not price, and that's not price related, so not like a circular argument, but that I can look at, that I can then make some judgment on what could potentially happen to the price. So basically, give me this value indicator. And to me, with the ETF inflows, I finally have that to a certain extent. I'm not saying it's perfect, but before I had nothing. Really, I had nothing. And now I have something. So you give me that chart of, let me just try to pull it up, right? So if I would just pull this chart up, let me just see if I can pull it up really, really quickly. Here. So let me just pull this up here and then see what happens. So here, if all you see here is the inflow of the ETFs, right? You see the inflows here, like here's Grayscale. This is the selling that Grayscale has been doing, right? And if you just see that, and obviously you're missing out the 27s. I don't know if I can find a newer one. Doesn't matter. 27s was even better. Here, maybe this one. Yeah. Okay. Give me just another second. I'm switching screen. Share this instead. Can you see it? New one?
Yeah. On YouTube, it's visible. On Twitter,
okay.
It's basically
a
sheet
let me
where
just
you
explain
see
it to you.
every single day in a row. And,
correct. You just see every. Correct. You see the Bitcoin inflows into the various Bitcoins. I think you have seen them all on Twitter. And basically, what you see all the way until the weekend, basically on the 23rd. You see, the net inflows are there, right? They actually went down slightly. 21st of February, we even had a negative day. And then if you look at the price chart, actually really correlates quite well. But then this weekend, something changed, because we came out on Monday with the lowest amount of outflow out of Grayscale with 22 million and really strong inflows into all the ETFs. And especially yesterday, Tuesday, we have over 500 million inflows into Grayscale. And so suddenly we have 500 million of net inflow into those ETFs. So if you just look at these numbers and you're like, okay, tell me a little bit what you think the price did during these times, right? Like just guesstimate. Then you would say, okay, well, you know what? Like January to February right now, difficult to say because it's all accumulated here. So let's ignore this. But like February 12th all the way to like 21st, man, maybe the price did well here at the beginning, 12, 13, but then it could be that the price actually went down a little bit. We had a bit of a negative day. But then over the weekend, everything changed. And so maybe since the weekend, we've seen a bit of a pump. So I do see for the first time, suddenly I can look at something that makes sense to me. And that is really the number that I'm looking at. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's going to be the ideal parameter, but it's 100% something I will be looking for to see a bit on where are we here.
What do you think about sidelined capital? Maybe I want to hear your take first, and then I want to share a few of my own thoughts.
I mean, my thought is that people are really still in disbelief. And I mean, I probably include myself a bit in this. I would have sideline capital, and I definitely missed with that sideline capital. I missed the rally. So for me, all I dollar cost averaged, and obviously I should have dollar cost averaged probably 3 times more, right? That at least gave me a big pump. And I want to be very clear. I'm looking at my portfolio, and my crypto position now really got outsized again massively in comparison to the rest, and it's a good thing, right? And it makes sense because my crypto position, you look at all of that over the last whatever year, this thing is up over like close to 200% now, right? So you look at that and you realize, oh my goodness, like that is up massively compared to everything else, right? So it depends on how big your crypto position is and how much your desired allocation is. But if that position is up 200% over the last year, it definitely did well. So, some rebalancing, if you are considering this, can be in the cards. Yeah, I don't know. That's just where I'm with all that. For you, Fabio?
There's definitely a lot of disbelief, and I would say it's insane how much capital that is still sidelined. When even in my own friend circle, like the communities I'm in online, many people were surprised by how fast and how relentless that rally is, and everybody. So since I make a personal example. I had during the bear market, I do yearly rebalancing, and I had maybe let's say the war chest, the capital that I want to invest. I had parts of that in T bills because hey, 5.15%, and I never found a good end because I was like, okay, stocks are overvalued. 5.15% is actually decent. I'm just going to wait until the Fed says they're going to pivot. We're going to see a sell off, and then I'm going to deploy capital. That was basically more or less the game plan. And of course, we've just seen up only. So I still have approximately 18% of my war chest is still in treasuries or on Coinbase and getting 5.15% API. And I was always okay, since the 29,000, I was like, okay, if we get a 30% correction, I'm going to buy the dip. And I know a lot of people that have exactly the same approach, that were consistently waiting since 30K. Okay, if we are getting a correction, I'm going to deploy capital. And then the correction never comes. And we basically go from 30K to 60K in 2 months, and or a little bit more than 2 months. But there is an enormous amounts of capital that is still sidelined. And if I would, do wet finger science, how this all is going to play out is a lot of people will say, okay, this might be a double top before the halving, for example, that we pump up to 70K, maybe even inflation adjusted double top, and then we have a big correction. And a lot of sidelined capital is waiting for the $30,000 to $40,000 range. And even if we approach all-time highs, they're going to say, okay, no, that's going to be a double top for sure. There's going to be a triple top, and we're going to move back down. But if we actually break all-time highs and move into the direction of 100K, I think this sidelined capital will provide the fuel to take this way beyond 100K. If we are going there, I think 110K or 115K is probably the moment where the sideline capital is capitulating and saying, okay, my God, this is just going to go. But it's really hard right now to find an entry point, because are you buying right now after we had like just we pumped from 50,000 to 60,000 in basically, I don't know, 4 or 5 days. So is now the moment to deploy capital? Are we going to get a 30% correction? What if not? So it's a very weird situation, I guess, for a lot of people. And
Sure. I mean,
sure.
the only concept I want to bring here to the table, right, is and that's the answer. Think back if your entire capital right now would be in a fiat currency. So use euro, use Swiss francs, use US dollars, use whatever you use, Singapore dollars, and just think your entire capital that you have right now, put that into that fiat currency. And now think about your desired allocation in Bitcoin, in Ethereum, whatever you want to allocate to, right? Just think it through this way. And that should be your allocation. So it's not so much about buying, it's not about selling, it's about you're actually either rebuying or you're rebuying something else. That's always the key kind of thought experiment that I always have for myself. So for me, right, I look at my portfolio and I have a target allocation I have for crypto. And obviously that just has to do with how old you are, what's your income, your risk exposure. Obviously, I'm in crypto already as a entrepreneur, so there I have additional exposure there, right? So all these things kind of flow in there, and with that, it's, in my opinion, really crucial to kind of consider those things for your rebuying or selling or reallocation.
Yeah, it's the biggest advice that I always give to family and friends that are asking, hey, I mean, everybody that is in crypto must get the same questions. And it's always the most, the question that I get the most is, when should I buy? How much should I buy? Should I DCA or lump sum? That's basically to narrow it down, what kind of questions that no coiners or people that are not that much into the space, they always ask this. And the only reason I can sleep well right now, even though I have maybe 18% of my war chest still in T-bills or generating cash on fiat, is because I'm 80% allocated. So I'm never all in and never all out of the market. But it must feel devastating if you currently, if you missed this whole rally from basically 16,000 to 60,000. I don't want to be in those kind of shoes. And even though your argument makes a lot of sense that basically I should re-elevate or look at my portfolio without any emotions and just think, okay, what's my allocation, and then executing on it. While in theory you're 100% right, of course. In practice, it feels it doesn't feel good because you kind of know that you missed the rally and that you were allocating at a worse price point. So I kind of feel with everybody that is currently sidelined with most of their capital or parts of their capital, but it's tough if somebody asks me right now, should I do I need to FOMO in? I don't want to be the guy that gives the recommendation, because everything can happen. We could go from here back to 30K, or we can go straight up and have a new all-time high pre-halving. As nice as it is experiencing these bull cycles, they also come with heavy decisions or
100%. I mean, for me, what was very interesting all the way until the weekend, Ethereum was really doing extremely well, right? And it's no secret that Ethereum is a key position for me. Wait, let me just look at where is the chart right now. So, okay, so I mean, there was a time when Ethereum outperformed Bitcoin by 50%. So not in absolutes, but like I think Bitcoin was at 20 and Ethereum was at 30% year to date. Now Ethereum is up 46% year to date, which is bonkers, and Bitcoin is up 40%. So Ethereum is still ahead right now, but Bitcoin really caught up. And so there was a time where people even said, okay, now altcoin season is coming. Last week, right? It really looked like altcoin season was coming. You could see the swings. Suddenly the altcoins started outperforming Bitcoin. It was really, really crazy. And then just over the weekend, in like 2 days, bam! Why do you think that is? And what do you think? Altcoin season, yes or no?
I would say no, not yet. I have been saying that for a while. So still, like, Bitcoin dominance is still going up. Of course, we have we're not at an all-time high or at a local high yet, but almost. So I think the local high for Bitcoin dominance was, let me actually check, was at 55.2 or so, and right now we're kind of touching our way up to 54% ish. We are at 54% right now. I still would give it, I don't know, approximately maybe 6 months to, but it's hard because this cycle feels completely different than other cycles. But if I look at charts of altcoins, I always look at Bitcoin charts. And right now, there are not a lot of charts that are particularly exciting. Not yet. I know that a lot of these altcoins, they will eventually pump. Which ones are, of course, always hard to say. And on Ethereum, I guess this is a special case because it all kind of depends on the ETF narrative. If there is more, like, let's say we have these two Bloomberg analysts that kind of covered the whole Bitcoin ETF saga perfectly. Like they did an amazing job in feeding all the information and reporting on the happenings. If we see these two guys doing the same for the Ethereum ETF and we have this narrative kind of brewing and bubbling up, I think Ethereum can have an extremely strong time over the coming 1, 2, 3, 4 months, but it all depends a bit on the coverage and if it's actually happening. Yeah. So I still would say it's still Bitcoin season for a little while, but then again, maybe this all changes if we actually see an all-time high before the halving. After the halving doesn't really matter, but usually the moment Bitcoin goes into all-time high territory, the switch is set to a different stage. And it used to be 6 months after the halving. So if you would have asked me a year ago, when is altcoin season starting, I would have said end of 2024. But right now, because we have this strong run up and we're almost in all-time high territories, I would say, okay, when are we going to see altcoin season? When Bitcoin is at its all-time high. It's probably going to be the moment that a lot of capital switches and that we really see altcoins picking up steam again.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, very interesting because I also, the timing and all of this, I mean, it's just, maybe it's really the institutional flows that just change the entire flow of all that and changes kind of the cycle behavior.
So Don Meyer in chat, he asked how Ethereum is different. So I don't know, maybe do you want to take the question or?
Nah, you take it.
Okay.
People always criticize me for being too critical of Bitcoin, which I'm not, but yeah.
So why is Ethereum different? So I would probably, like we talked about this in previous spaces, I would probably put crypto into 4 categories. It's Bitcoin, Ethereum, stablecoins, and everything else. And why is Ethereum different is because it's just from a size perspective and also the history that it has, the attention that it has, and people really feel like there's 2 blue chips. It's basically Bitcoin and Ethereum and all other things. It has kind of established its own category. And you can also see that with the discussions that we have surrounding the ETF. Nobody, of course, there are a few communities that think XRP or Solana will get an ETF, but these are usually a bit on the delusional side of very small communities from professional opium dealers. But if you look in the traditional markets or in broader macro or people that have kind of a nuanced opinion, it's basically, okay, Bitcoin, its own category, and now they're looking at ETH and a potential ETH ETF. So I would definitely say ETH is in a category of its own, and especially right now, nobody's talking about anything else but the time frame, maybe May, June-ish, that we could see an Ethereum ETF.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I was just browsing through Cointelegraph if there's any kind of news or anything that's coming out. I mean, I feel I've been feeling this for the last 2-3 weeks already. other than price, not much actually has been happening. So it's more like institutional plays. I don't know. Anything else you're watching? Anything else you're seeing that we can address here?
Of course, I'm also eyeing, or maybe we can have a short segment also outside of Bitcoin and crypto in general. Right now, the narrative and everything seems to be dominated by ETF inflows, numbers, price, and not much else. Of course, we have the things that we are kind of carrying along with us, like the Celsius is starting to pay out its creditors, and Mount Gox is like moving or ramping up its payments as well. So we have like the institutions that were falling prior that are kind of finishing up their business. Maybe I want to finish off the crypto part in with one thing that is just mind-boggling to me, and that a lot of people in crypto they don't really see that for what it is. But if you are in TradFi and you kind of look down on Bitcoin and you said, okay, this is magic internet money, it's a bunch of weird people, this doesn't really have a future, and then you kind of look at these 4 times Bitcoin corrected 4 times 80+%, and it has these wild volatility swings. And then last year or in 2021, you had like the biggest institutions, Celsius, BlockFi, Voyager, FTX, all of these institutions kind of washing out and being basically bankrupt. And if you watch that, and 2 years later, this thing is just still not that, and it's just coming back, and it comes back even stronger than it used to. It kind of makes you reconsider. Like I see a lot of people like quotes of Raven, for example, or other macro people that have been very cautiously and like looking down on Bitcoin a bit. They did a complete 180. They said, okay, my God, this is just, it's not going away. This thing is just not dying. It's coming back and coming back over and over and over again. And at one point you just need to capitulate to this, I guess, to this asset, because it's just not going away.
Who would, I think, when the price would pump the hardest, who would have to buy Bitcoin? Nancy Pelosi. Did you hear that story of her buying Palo Alto Networks?
Is this the insider trading thing?
Dude, so Nancy Pelosi buys Palo Alto Networks. It gets tracked. And this thing has been down. And she buys like put up call options for beginning of 2025. I don't know the exact details, but doesn't matter. So basically, she's bullish on Palo Alto Networks. The stock does not do well. As soon as this info gets released, Palo Alto Networks pumps by over 10%. So basically, she becomes the absolute follow trader ever, because she has been having these really outsized gains on everything. So it's just been So I think she buys Bitcoin would go bonkers.
There is I'm listening to Cedric Youngelman. He has the Bitcoin Matrix podcast. It's a very, it's sometimes a bit boring, but he has a great guest, and he has one question that he asks every single guest. And I would be, if you could orange pill one person, it doesn't matter who, and you basically could get him into crypto, who would you pick?
Man, that's an interesting question. I mean, okay. First, I have to say I'm not the person who feels like I need to convince people of something. I struggle. But who would be very interesting to be in Bitcoin? Who would be very interesting to be in Bitcoin? I mean, I see this already. I think interesting would be Trump now. Because I really think he realizes how important that crypto audience is for him, especially now with the prices pumping. And so I would find it very interesting what happens if he goes and starts shilling Bitcoin. I just think what would happen. That would just be. I would just find this, how Elon would say, the most hilarious outcome or the most amusing outcome. I think that would be crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Trump would be a great pick. Look, I kind of,
Who would it be
I
for
wish.
you? I mean,
I wish.
Jack Dalsham here says Bill Gates. I think that's also a fun pick.
It would be a great pick as well. Look, so I have my issues with Elon. I love this guy. He does so amazing things with all of his companies and so on. But I think he just doesn't really understand Bitcoin yet. He's still, or there is something that he has with Dogecoin but I think a fully orange pilled hardcore believer in Bitcoin. I think Elon would be a great asset to have. 100%. Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm gonna give some big updates. Do you want to give some DeFi chain updates? What's happening on the DeFi chain front? You go first. I go last.
Yeah. So where to start? So we had Andreas and George, both our community members. Sorry if I don't remember the last names correctly. I rather not say the last names instead of butchering them. But we have two community members that basically submitted a DFIP last week. I think it was last week, Thursday or so, or Friday. And the proposal is, for the longest time, I think, let's say 1 year plus 2 years, almost 2 years, we had this 30% DEX stabilization fee between all the tokens and DFI on the DeFi chain side. And while the fee definitely served this purpose, it was not as flexible or as good, as perfectly thought through as initially planned. And we kind of, George and Andreas, they came up with a more dynamic solution. And I think this is definitely super interesting. And it can kind of help to lower the volatility, and especially to kind of keep out short-term speculators. So there's basically two or three camps on in the DeFi chain D token system, and one of the camps, a bigger camp, was or still is short-term speculators. So they kind of speculate on the price of a stablecoin, which is of course insanity within itself, and this speculation of these people kind of influence the price negatively. And with a more dynamic DEX fee that is kind of a sponge or kind of a buffer that can suck up or dampen the volatility, there is definitely a big chance that we will see a more stable, sustainable price discovery of the USD. And the proposal got approved yesterday evening, 10 o'clock European time. And then in Singapore morning, meaning during European nights, we already had core developers implementing and adjusting the fee. The only thing that I would keep, that you need to keep in mind, is that both Android and Apple, they need to, the apps, so the Light Wallet needs a software update. And this can take, I don't know, sometimes a few hours, sometimes a few days. It depends a bit on how fast they kind of bring this out. I think in the meantime, you will see a banner and you need to adjust the slippage manually. That's basically the impact to customers. On the short term and on the long term, I think we probably will see a more sustainable price discovery of the USD. Other than that, we have a big event tomorrow in Singapore, sold out. We have, I think, 4 or 5 panelists and a moderator. It's gonna be streamed, but not live. As far as I know, we're still working out the details there with some people that are doing the streaming. We want to deliver a bit better quality than the last 2 or 3 streams that you guys watched. So there will be a stream, but it's probably not going to be live. But you will definitely find it on DeFi Chain's YouTube. And it's definitely, the event is branded a bit more DeFi in general, real DeFi, but of course with a twist and a focus on DeFi Chain. We still have our social and Galaxy campaign going on. If you want to have more info on that, definitely go to DeFi Chain Labs Twitter account and make sure to tune in there. And maybe to finish it off on a sentiment perspective. So of course, look, there's no need to talk around the bush. We had negative price action for an extensive period, and that's of course weighing heavy on the community, and it's kind of hard to put on a smile if you have negative price action. especially while other things are performing a bit better. Because I saw a very good a quote, and I'm not sure who said it, but um, the worst thing is if your neighbor does better investments than you. It doesn't really
Yeah,
matter if it's
that's a
a
good quote.
guy XY or whatever. But if your neighbor has better return than you, then this really is it. Yeah, it feels bad, and that basically is a little bit of the situation that a lot of DeFi chain community members were in. But we saw a bit of a turnaround, because there was some of the drama that we discussed in early in this call is settled, and we can kind of leave all of that behind us. And then on the other hand, we have this dynamic DFIB that is a potential solution, a long-term sustainable solution, to kind of keep to improve things at least. So sentiment is definitely had a swing. It's more positive, and so is price action. So I'm really excited to see the DFIB basically taking a foothold, and I'm watching with a lot of attention how all of this is going to develop over the course of the next few weeks.
100%. Three things from my side on the big side. First, we have the dust converter ready. At the moment, it's for everything that's not D token related, simply because on the D token, the tax fee has to be implemented, and this was a bit of an issue. So all assets you have other than D tokens, but anything else under $50 can be converted with a click of a button. This was a long-awaited feature. Very excited to have that on. So that's really cool. We also launched Grade 8 bundle. It's a bundle that's really diverse. Actually, one of our best performing bundles in such a short time. So that's really, really exciting. We're also looking into an AI bundle. It makes a lot of sense because, people are really, really into AI. These bundles, if you don't know, they are a mix of different coins. So with the click of a button, you can buy all these coins. They are, I think, very, very easy to buy. Really, really good. So check them out. And what the team has been mostly really working on is for Bake to become an exchange. That's something we discussed several times now. Obviously, it is on the one hand, get cash from your crypto. It's having this diversifier with the bundles, having the alpha desk with some really exciting ideas. But it all comes down to being able to switch and swap between different assets. It's something that we have shied away from a bit in the past. Now we're ready. And hopefully we're going to have a first version of that next week. So the team has been really working hard on that. That's going to be really good. Then you're going to be able to swap left and right. And then we're going to start expanding. The key focus for us is going to be almost to be like a layer on top of many other exchanges. So we want to actually see if we can get a better price somewhere else. We're going to route it there. So almost have like a trading engine. That's going to be quite cool. So looking forward to that. And the idea really is that you have, amazing prices for, your assets. So we're looking forward to that. Hopefully we're going to have some good launch on this next week. So fingers crossed. We're looking forward to that. Yeah. I think that's it on the main updates. Anything that I missed? Awesome, Fabio. Then thanks so much for today's update. We're going to do this again next week. If there are report-worthy news, I mean, obviously, if we're going to see an all-time high, then it's definitely there. Let us know in the comments, either on Twitter or on YouTube, if you think we're going to see an all-time high in next week. Do you think we're going to see it in March? Do you think we're going to see it before the halving? Would definitely be interesting. Give us a thumbs up, follow us, like, and then we'll see you next time. Thank you so much, everyone. Stay safe. Good trading, good decisions. Keep your emotions in check. See you soon. Fabio and Julian. Bye-bye.